welcome to this live weekly warm-up. The program that I use for streaming on Facebook and YouTube is called Restream, and they had a big update, so things changed. So this isn't set up correctly. You'll still be able to hear me. It's mostly just the title says that it's grouping scales, which was last week. This week is different. So don't believe what the title says. What we're going to be doing today is relaxed hand position. And though it doesn't actually show the right title, I did put in the right title on this other spot. And if you're on Facebook or YouTube, you can see that. That's fancy. So this is the actual one. I'll figure out how to make sure that the title is actually right for next week. But this week we have this fun sort of hand relaxation scale exercise that I want to share with all of you. And of course, if you have any questions about it, as always, feel free to leave a comment. So what we're going to do is just play a scale, nice and easy. And we're going to go with C major 2 octaves because that's nice and easy. And the point of this is to work on really relaxed hands and really getting the holes covered and landing nicely. I've noticed recently quite a few of my students have been struggling with some squeaks and things like that, and just bad finger coordination. This exercise, I think, works really well for getting that finger coordination going really well. What it is just a 2 octave C major scale, but we're going to be focusing really, really diligently and intentionally on what our hands are doing and just keeping the hands as relaxed and natural as possible. So let me go ahead and just demonstrate this. And what we're going to do is start with just like shaking out the hands. You can do both hands if you have a place to rest your clarinet. And then just bringing it up and just really relaxed. I think I've done this in a video before. And actually, let me take my watch off so you can see that wrist as well. Just really relaxed so that there's like not a care in the world, not a single ounce of energy going into your hands. And then make your wrist straight because we can't play with that crooked of wrists, but still just completely relaxed hands. The fingers are like nothing's going on. And then what we'll do is bring the clarinet to that hand position, keeping it completely relaxed. And hopefully your clarinet and your fingers will sort of line up. You may notice that your thumb isn't like perfectly perpendicular like it maybe normally is, and maybe it's closer to the tip or further from the tip than normal. But if you just have that nice relaxed hand position, sort of let it hang, try to keep your wrist as straight as possible, bring the clarinet to that, and then just hold it. And yes, it's a lot of weight and it's a little bit awkward, so there may be some tension in your hand starting, but try to avoid the tension as much as possible. You can even sort of not fully shake it out, but just sort of wiggle around, get relaxed. Same thing for the left hand. Just effortless, relaxed, wrist straight. Bring that, or bring the clarinet to that. When you bring your hand to the clarinet, then you automatically do like whatever your bad habit is. Just keep the hand relaxed. Bring the clarinet there. And again, it should line up more or less perfectly. So now you should have both hands just really naturally on the clarinet, completely relaxed. Now I'm going to play a 2 octave C major scale like this and try to keep this as close as possible to where it is now in the completely neutral, relaxed position as I play the scale. And I'll sort of half stand so you can see my fingers really well. Nice and relaxed. And again, just to just keep thinking about as relaxed as possible. Hopefully you can see how little my fingers are moving. And you probably noticed some moments of like not great sound. The reason for that is because my fingers were so light, like that E to D that happened there. I'm not actually pushing that key all the way down and covering the hole completely. So that's why there was that little fuzzy, not great sound. But it's actually a good sign in this exercise because it means that the fingers are so relaxed and so easy. You do need just the tiniest bit more strength to really close the holes. And you also hopefully noticed that I wasn't like mushy with my fingers while I was doing this. I was still really precise, just keeping it as relaxed as possible while being as precise as possible. The benefit and the purpose of this exercise is, number one, to just keep your fingers relaxed and natural. This will allow you to play faster and more effortlessly, which is really important. The other thing that's a huge benefit of this exercise is it helps you to sort of learn where the holes are and find them. You could see when I was sort of like shaking it out on the holes, it was sort of just a little wiggling around. And that's actually good to be comfortable with because that helps your fingers like find really where true covering the holes is, where you're really in a relaxed way covering with the fleshy part of your fingers and not too much of the tip or too much of like the knuckle where you'll get leaking if you're at either of those. It's that nice fleshy part really landing on the holes. And by being as relaxed and just natural as possible, the easier it is to really cover the holes and really coordinate your fingers so that you can do things like crossing the break. As effortlessly as possible. You may also notice as you're doing this exercise that you end up getting sort of a very fuzzy, weak sound. And that's a great indication that your air is being influenced by your fingers too much. This is one of the bigger moments of having to do this in playing the clarinet. The air needs to be super strong, super high pressure, as always, to have good air for good sound, but the fingers are just so effortless. And it's a weird, I call it the pressures paradox, where the air is really strong, but the fingers are really light. You just have to be careful that you don't overlap those, where the fingers get too tense and strong with the air, or the air gets too light and relaxed with the fingers. You have to keep them separate, where it's light fingers, still precise, but light fingers, strong, steady air, not squishy air or wimpy air. Yeah, that's it for this week's exercise. I see Zoe Clarinet on Instagram likes this one. I'm glad that you liked it. This is one of my favorites too. And honestly, I don't even do this necessarily as its own exercise. I kind of think about this every time I'm playing any technique exercise. This is sort of an integral foundation of technique exercises and scale exercises for me. So yeah, I'm glad that you liked it. And I will get the title stuff figured out for next week so everything looks nice and doesn't say the wrong thing. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week on the next live weekly warm-up.